Okay, I'm going to go back to Gurdjieff for a second. He says that in order to grow a soul, you have to create energy within yourself, right?
Mhm.
So we can see the similar ideas in the chakras, and in the Chinese and Japanese chi, the ki, the internal energy. William Reich had that, the orgone energy. Even now we can call it in the electric universe theory, it would be the plasma.
Mhm.
So Gurdjieff said the same thing. You need to develop or generate energy within yourself, and that energy builds the soul. And he says the only way to generate that energy is through suffering, intentional suffering.
Intentional suffering.
Yes. Yeah.
Why? Why is that the only possibility?
Well, because he calls it friction. You rub your hands together really fast and it generates heat.
Mhm.
Heat's generated by friction. So the friction is between experience and your soul. You're rubbing up against the evil in the world. You're rubbing up against all the hardships and setbacks and difficulties and challenges. And the more you rub up against it, because if you didn't rub up against it, then, well, of course, now we're back to the people that are just going to sit around and drink vodka all day because everything is already predetermined, right?
Mm.
If you believe it's not predetermined and you're going to forge your own way in life, you are up against resistance. You're fighting this. And like, anything, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Yeah. For example, I'm resisting the dumbbells when I lift them, and that's generating muscle tissue in my arms,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
It's the resistance that builds the heat because I'm heating up from that. And it also builds the muscle tissue. So if you want to build a soul, you need to exercise your soul against the hardships of life. You got to push against it and fight against it. And then you will generate that energy. Um, that's his theory. And like I said, I don't believe anything, but for me, that is an explanation that works for now until somebody else comes up with a better one.
But that would also mean that most people here are soulless.
Well, of course, we know that. They
Mm.
are soulless.
Mm.
That's exactly what we see around us now. Soulless people.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's why. And the other thing Gurdjieff said too, because I'm going to go on Eon Bite in a couple of weeks, eh? Miguel O'Connor?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going on his show in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be talking about Gurdjieff and the Fourth Way. This is going to be the first time I actually do a whole interview talking about, the Fourth Way and the way of the warrior. And why did I bring that up? Soulless. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that's why I'm quoting Gurdjieff a lot today. But Gurdjieff said, human beings are like the seeds of an oak tree. In the life of an oak tree, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of seeds are produced, right?
Mhm.
And they spread out and they fall onto the earth. And out of those seeds, maybe one or two will grow into an oak tree. So this is the experiment that, Gaia, Sophia is creating, is conducting using human beings. There will be millions and millions of human beings produced, but only a few of them will ever grow a soul, just like the oak seeds.
Mm.
So that's why you can't have a lot of people that that have souls. For some reason you can't. Well, Gurdjieff would explain it that knowledge and wisdom is a limited commodity. So you can't give it to everybody because then there won't be enough to go around for anybody.
Okay.
That's his theory on that. I don't know what to think about that. But again, it's like, so, nature experiments. I do believe that probably if there is a purpose for our being on this planet, our species being on this planet, I think that purpose is to build a soul, because that soul then could survive death, and that soul, while it's incarnated on this planet, can create a better planet, a better world. People with soul are the ones that do things for others, that create peace and happiness and beauty and knowledge. It's people with soul that do that. People without a soul, they're just it's, what do they do? Who cares? um, and so nature may be trying to develop a soul in people. And right now, it's just a few people that happen to fall on the right soil at the right time, that it develops and grows into a soul. I think there's some Bible passage about a mustard seed, or building your house on a sandy soil or something like that. It's the same idea. If you're fortunate enough to have the right genetics and you're born at exactly the right spot at exactly the right time, and you have the right kind of influences in your life, in the correct stages of your development, then yeah, you're going to grow a soul. But it's just very rare that all those conditions will come together, and it won't come together for most people. Not that I think people without a soul should be treated any differently. They still
No.
feel,
Yes.
I still empathize with their suffering. I really do. Yeah, I know they don't have a soul, but why should they be in pain and crying and suffering? I don't want to see that either. They're still a living creature. They're still a living being.
But a lot of these soulless creatures, well, that is let's say, my personal experience from direct encounters. And a lot of them during this entire time, pretty quickly, if you bring up anything, they start defending their own enslavement.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because they're
that is
part of it.
what makes me, it's like, beam me up, Scotty. I don't want to be around these morons anymore. I
I know.
can't handle it.
I know. It's easy for me to say the same thing. They're morons, they're cowards, they're soulless entities. And they are. But it's hard for me to hold personal malice towards them, because they're the product of their circumstance. I don't, they didn't have the right genes, they didn't have the right parents, they didn't have the right conditions. Who knows? And a lot of these people, they were abused as children too, which is the whole point of child abuse, is to destroy the souls of children.
Of
It's not
course.
about sex. These filthy pedophiles, it's not about sex for them. They could have sex with whatever they want. It's about destroying the innocence and the potential of developing a soul in these children. They've destroyed another human being. That's what it's about for these people.